Alright, I think I'm going to do another custom computer case build or video or whatnot. So right here is my old secondary machine that I think I did a video on or something a while back. Basically, this is an old, basically inside here is an old computer. The CPU and whatnot is from 2000, hold on, 2004. I believe it's from 2006. The other core I got in my hand is basically the exact same core but manufactured at an earlier date, 2005. The core I have in my hand is from my original quad-core computer. This is basically the type of core that's in the big computer right here. It's an Intel Core Dual-Quad, clocked at 2.5 compared to the 2.4 of the core that you see right here. This is the original core on my original main gaming rig. This core still works. The only reason why I don't have any other computer is because the motherboard, the core this thing was originally on, gave me mystery smoke, and that was it. So I was capable of salvaging the core and the RAM. I think I even salvaged my GPU that was in there, but the GPU took a hit. So what am I making this video about? Well, I'm making this video about my little potato rig right here. Give me a second. There we go. This little rig right here, I mean this little computer right here, exclude the 750 Ti or whatnot, but I'm just showing you for a size comparison. I got this little potato rig from my father's friend. It was in some massive ass case with a very noisy ass PSU. And I decided, okay, I'm going to take the thing apart. I'm going to mess with the thing for a little while, keep it in like an open case setup so I can figure out what this thing can and cannot do. And then I'll go on and decide if I want to convert this into my actual real secondary rig or if I just want to keep it as an open air system and just put it in the closet for whenever I want to mess with it. And I decided, okay, I'm going to turn this thing into my secondary rig. So as you can tell, this thing's pretty small. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a super small case. Now this is how big my secondary is. And here's the modified PSU I made for this thing originally. As you can tell, this is not the original fan this thing came with. This PSU right here is one of those PSUs that basically has a cooler fan spinning at constant max RPM. So I took this fan here, chopped out the leads and whatnot, and basically made it to where this fan here just spins at half speed. Even though this fan spins at half speed, it's still very, very noisy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the PSU out of my secondary rig and use it to power the potato machine. Here's the secondary rig's PSU. And as you can tell, here's the wiring nightmare that's inside this rig. It's a mess. But the nice thing about my secondary rig here is with the way I'm planning to do this setup, I don't need to actually have any extra cooler fans or anything, and I can bunch all the wires into one little area. So how am I gonna do this little guy? Well, I'm going to plug the 750 Ti in here into the PCI. Give me a second. There we go. I'm going to use the PSU this thing originally came with to show you what it's going to be like. And it's more or less going to be like this. So it's going to be really freaking small. It's going to be about this big, if not a little smaller actually. Because I gotta be able to have some area for the cabling, but that's about it. In the long term, this is going to be one small computer. So I'll come back when I have an actual true idea of how big this thing is going to be. Alright, I thought I'll come back for 1 second to show the PSU I have in my secondary. As you can tell, it's wire central, so I'm going to have to do some heavy modifications to these wires, i.e. cut some off I don't need, and trim others that need to be trimmed so I can make this case utterly small. Now, of course, before you say go buy one of those PSUs with the little plugs and whatnot, and then custom cabling, I'm not going to do that for a free computer, especially one that's powered by a dual-core AMD clocked at 1.3 gigahertz and only has, as of right now, 2 gigabytes of RAM. Now, of course, before you say, why are you doing that to a potato machine? I want to do this to the potato machine, and I want to put the 750 Ti in the potato machine because I want a small secondary machine. I'm not going to do much with this thing. I'll probably play games like Mass Effect, which will play on this thing just fine, even without the graphics card. Now, I know for a fact this thing can't play Andromeda. I don't have this thing. I don't have this thing. Dang it, I don't plan this thing to play Andromeda. I plan to play Andromeda on my main rig right there, which has a 950, 4 gigs of RAM, hopefully 8 gigs by the time the game comes out and whatnot. But basically, I want a decent little secondary machine that can play simple games on there like Mass Effect 1 through 3. I can play APP Reloaded on this thing. I can play Sims on this thing. I mean, even though it's an AMD and it's a full-on potato, it's still a decent little rig. As long as you don't expect much from this rig. So, here's a PSU. As you can tell, it's one of these type of fans right here. So what I'm planning to do with this setup is I'm planning to put the motherboard more or less like this right next to the PSU, so it can blow out all the hot air with the big old fan right here. Now, of course, like I said, this thing doesn't get, like I said, I don't expect much from this thing, and it doesn't really get that hot. So this setup right here, it'll keep everything cool without overheating. It'll still do the job just fine. I might do slight modification to this setup. I make it a little more, maybe like this far out. I don't know yet. I'm still in the preliminary stages of figuring out what I want, and what I need to do to get this set up the way I want. So I'll probably come back. I'll come back in a little while. I just don't know when I'll come back yet. Alright, I'm still working on actually getting this thing together, but I mounted the board onto the 8080 case. And when it comes to small cases, this one is the smallest case I've so far ever made for a desktop class computer. This computer case right here was my first original small computer case, but granted, this sucker right here is a full-on gaming machine. Like I stated before, this little guy right here is a potato machine. So since it's a potato, I am capable of making the case utterly freaking small, given the parameters of what I'm working with. So again, here's the actual case. I mean, here's where the motherboard is. I did future-proof it so I can attach another 2 gigs of RAM. What I'm planning to do is I'm planning to get a 4 gig stick to replace one of the 2 gigs in here, so I can have 6 gigs of RAM in my main machine. And I'm going to take that 2 gigs of RAM that's left over, and I'm going to place it inside here to give this potato machine 4 gigs of RAM, and then allowing me to upgrade to 64-bit of Windows. As of right now, I'm using Windows 10 32-bit because even though I really hate Windows 10, out of all the operating systems I've used on this thing, Windows 10 runs the best, which is annoying, but of course this thing only has 2 gigs of RAM, so that's why. So I want to show what this thing's going to look like more or less before I actually box this thing up and actually fully finish it. So here's the cutouts I've done for the I/O. Here's the cutout I've done for the PSU. I'll probably end up trimming this off a little bit so I can make, yeah, I'm definitely going to trim this off because I need to be able to put the Ethernet cable in here. Let's see, give me a second or two. Alright, so this is more or less what the PSU is going to look like inside the case. I'm going to try and line it like this. It's more or less going to be like this. The hard disk is on top. It is isolated, i.e. I put duct tape on the PCB board so the thing doesn't short out. I'm going to do the same to the hard drive itself because my 750 Ti right here is going to be resting upon the hard drive. I'm not going to put any duct tape on the PCB of the GPU because that's just dumb. I can just put the duct tape right here and it'll isolate the whole thing. It's more or less going to look like this. I think, let me see, is this a little... it's a little bit raised up instead of raised down. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but for this small ass form factor for this small ass potato machine, it'll do the trick. And of course, this little guy right here will be sucking out any heat that the CPU puts out. A custom vent system to keep this thing cool whenever it's spinning at full max or spinning at or whatever. Cable management is going to be a nightmare, but I've been able to build super small cases of a bunch of freaking wires in the way, so I'll be able to do it again. So I'm going to set everything up, wire everything up, and I'll come back when I see fit. Alright, quick update. I was figuring out, should I just bundle this nightmare of wires, or should I just break down and do a cut and cut the wires and do a custom cut size, like I did with this set of cable right here. Since this thing's a potato, I only need one set of cable and it doesn't need to be that long. I cut the set of cable and resoldered it together, and I made a little EB short cable. It looks like this guy might need to be retweaked a little bit. I am planning to use this little set of cable right here, or I might use this blue one if I can wrap it around enough times to make it short like this. Okay, so what I've decided to do is that I'm going to basically cut each individual wire to a certain length and then resolder them and make it smaller. The problem is this will take upwards of about an hour or two because there is a hell ton of wires and my soldering skills are not the best. Granted, they're still good, but they're not like professional and whatnot. So I think what I'll do is I'll stop here, do a setup, and show you what I do when I show you what I mean by cutting the wires and whatnot. Alright, as I wait for my soldering iron to heat up again, I want to show what I'm going to first start with. Since this is one of those 24 pin plugs that has a removable 4 pin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this pin, with this cluster of wires right here, because each wire is individually colored, so I won't have to worry about accidentally mixing up wires. So let me grab my stand I made. God, this thing is old. I've had it for years. The only modification I've done was use a selfie stick. I originally actually just used a big old wooden pole with a custom iPhone holder that I made on it. Okay, so how do I want to do this? Gotta remember this is going to be on a 1080p. I gotta remember this is shooting at 1080p, so I can actually make sure I can get in the direction I want. Alright. So here's the first batch of mustard wires. Let me first find my scissors. Okay. So I really want to make these guys short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut like right about here. Leave about this length. And then basically go right about to here. Giving me an extra amount of length. Or give me just enough to have a little bit of wiggle room. Cut like that. And And then once my soldering gun heats up, I'll come back and resolder and then connect. Alright, I think my soldering iron's all good to go. Let me turn on some circulation. I don't breathe in the happy smoke. Oh, now I remember why I turned on the fan in the beginning in the first place. Okay, how am I going to do this so I don't fry anything? Stupid wire, heat up. There we go. Like I said, I'm not the best soldering person out there, but I do get the job done. And where's that stupid duct tape? Oh, there it is. And boom, done. Now, as you can tell, it's a lot shorter, but I do have a lot of flex. I still gave it just enough flex to let me move it around. But it's going to be a lot more shorter than this nightmare of freaking wires. So, since this is, like I said, going to take forever to do, and I don't want this video any longer than it has to be, I'm going to stop it here, and I will come back when I'm done butchering this jumble of freaking wires. Alright, I cut down the wires. It's a little bulgier than I liked. I didn't exactly get everything as correct as I wanted, but the wire is still a lot more smaller, which is what I wanted. Which also allows me to just tuck all the wires right over here somewhere. I'm going to make like a small little brace bar or something so they actually know the RAM. Nah, I'll figure something out. So I decided to use the SSD. I also decided to use the set of cable that the thing came with because it has those little clips. And of course there is a 4-pin power. All I gotta do now is attach the USB audio header, which is this little thing right here, to it. Figure out how I'm gonna place all these wires in the thing, and then close it up. So I'll come back when I see fit. Alright, so here's the fun part. Actually getting the plugging in the actual USB leads. Because as you can tell, the actual connectors for the USB is kind of weak and kind of pathetic, as you can tell. Give me a second. Okay, let's just do this. As you can tell, they're these types. So I had to go to the online manual, and now I got to figure out how to do it correctly, so I don't have to pull apart this computer when I'm done. Alright, so I've gone and I stripped the plastic tube that was on these wires, because basically I need to be able to jumble all these things up into a nice little ball with the little tube that were originally on these things. It was very resistive. It was possible, but with the tube taken off, I can make these wires really freaking compact and really small so they don't eat up much space. So now I gotta figure out how in the world I'm gonna route the wires on this thing, and then figure out where exactly I want to mount this little board right here. I'm thinking at the bottom because, like I said, this is a potato machine and I don't use it that much. So I'm thinking down at the bottom will be fine, unlike my main rig, which is, well, as you can tell, a lot more easier to get to. So I'll come back again when I see fit. Alright, so I am configuring the wires on my potato machine. Here's where the wires connect. I have them going through here, and I'm going to probably I'm probably going to have them laying like right here or somewhere on the wall right here. As you can tell, this thing's a wiring nightmare, but it's a potato machine, and it really doesn't matter how it looks in the inside as long as it still functions and does what I ask. And I'm pretty sure it's still going to function and do exactly what I tell it to do. So all I gotta do now is route this, connect the power LED and the hard drive indicator, and build the rest of the box. Alright, I bundled the wires where I want them. Sorry about the camera shaking, there we go. And all I gotta do now is just attach this GPU and build the sides and top. So in the next, I'm hoping, hour, everything will be up and running. And also, I started around 1. It's morning now, 1 a.m. Now it's morning. So yeah, these type of builds can take a long time if I want to make it actually be something. I really shouldn't try to make this potato machine something, but I want it to look like something, or at least be easy to access if I need like replace RAM if I actually get if I actually somehow end up getting 8 gigs, or I don't know. Alright, so I actually had to go in there and detach the original PCB board and then just hot glue it to the front plates. So now all I gotta do is just connect it and then we're good to go again. But first I'm going to actually attach the power button LED and the hard drive LED indicator light thing. So I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so I have the faceplate of the potato rig all set up. Here's where I have the I/O ports, headphone audio, I forget which one which. 2 USB 2.0s. The leads are right in there somewhere. Let's see if I turn on the lights. Where the heck the switch is. One's in. There we go. Yeah, I really can't see it anyways. Whatever. There's the leads. Headphone jacks right there. The wires routed at the bottom, at the back right here. Via hot glued in the power button with the LED power on, hard drive indicator light. Now the thing plugged in. Now flip the switch and let's see what happens. Wow. Talk about a quiet computer. Very quiet. Oop, and the hard drive light's active. Now, of course, this thing's running Windows 7 64-bit from a different computer of mine, so I gotta power this thing off before it starts loading into the OS and corrupting stuff. Well, it doesn't matter if it corrupts stuff because I am going to end up just wiping this drive and put Windows 10 Windows 10 32-bit on here until I get a extra 2 gigs of RAM, so I can have 8 gigs of RAM inside this thing. And of course, this little jumble wires right here is the power on LED and hard drive indicator LED. I gotta figure out a place where exactly I want to place these since I know this thing works. Get that figured out. Put the make the side, make the top, make a hole for the 750 Ti to cool off, and then pretty much done. Well, with that, the potato rig is now done. So as you can tell, it's actually fairly cleanly built. There are a few little dents from the stupid ink pen I was using, but I can easily fix that by printing out and placing some stickers on here. So what do I have on this thing? Well, 2 USB 2.0s, microphone, headphone jack, a small little vent right here to help suck in air. This thing isn't much, so having this little USB vent here will help with the airflow. Side, nothing other than a little piece of tape holding the top on. And of course the back, the PSU, 400 watts, 2 USB 2.0s, VGA, DVI, one of those optical audios, HDMI, 2 USB 3.0s, another 2 USB 2.0s, Ethernet, surround sound, and the 750Ti, well, the back of my 750 Ti. And nothing on this side. And of course on the top, one big hole for the cooler fan for my video, for the GPU. And then pulling off the piece of tape full frontal view of the GPU. And of course the bottom, of course, wires, power switch, hard drives right here, motherboards right here. I can easily get. All I need to do to get to the RAM is pull out this GPU, and I can replace it, and I can upgrade the RAM when the time comes. And to close the latch of that one little RAM stick that I will be upgrading, I have this little itty bitty hole right here, so I can easily flip this little lever back up without having to tear apart this whole computer. So before I end this video, I'm going to hook it up. So I'm going to put it next to my main rig to show the size comparison. Be right back. And here's a nice size comparison of the potato rig compared to my main rig. As you can tell, the main rig is a little bigger, of course, because it has higher end specs. And then of course my potato. Apparently I gotta reinforce this, but it'll hold for the most part. But as you clearly can tell, the potato rig is a lot more smaller than my main rig, but not by much actually. Actually, height-wise, it's near on par, but width-wise, it's definitely smaller, but not by much. Ignore that noise. My parents are using that annoying ass loud coffee grinder. But size comparison is pretty damn small, so this thing can technically be a portable desktop to an extent. Like if I want to take this thing to a local convention so people can play games on it and whatnot. I'm not going to bring my main rig because my main rig is the one that's most powerful. And of course my little secondary potato rig. I guess once I get everything set up and reinstall the OS, I'll what type of games this thing can do. Alright, I think I'm gonna add this last little part. I tried booting up with the hard drive that's in here. It's running Windows 7 64-bit. I just wanted to see if for some reason or another it would actually boot up. It doesn't, but I'll show you what it does. I'll give this thing a couple seconds on the screen here to initialize. Now the first time I tried doing this, it didn't pop up with this, but here's what it does. Thinks about it. Blue screen! So yeah, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I loaded up my hard drive into my Macintosh when I first got it, and it had Windows 10 on it. It booted up immediately, so I was thinking, okay, maybe I might get lucky, but I had a feeling it wouldn't work in the beginning anyway, so. But yeah, I mean, I got my laptop out in the kitchen, downloading all the Windows 10 crap to make a bootable flash drive, so. Pretty much anyone can do that, so I'm not going to include that into the video, but pretty much the potato rig is now done. Took a while, but the potato rig is done.